Hey guys, this is my part 2 of the preview of Legacy of the Valiant, going through the next 20 cards that are going to be released in the pack. So I also forgot to mention, if you guys are excited about any cards in particular, you could let me know in the comments, talk about what you're going to do with some of these cards when they come out, because there's a lot of interesting combos I'm seeing people come up with, so I'd definitely like to see what you guys are going to be doing. But now we're just going to take a look at the next few cards. So the last Sylvan monster that's not like an XYZ is Sylvan Hermitree. Kind of a boss of the deck, not completely because, like I said, there's an XYZ, but a really good effect as with the other Sylvans, the same effects, but also it can take the top 3 cards of the deck when it's excavated and rearrange them. So really good card for setting up your deck. And in addition, once this card is in the graveyard, you'll be able to activate whatever you're doing with your plants to special summon it to get a strong level 8 monster out, in addition with setting up your deck. So very powerful. Definitely interested in Sylvans now with all these cards. So now the new Ghostricks. I haven't played with Ghostricks because I was actually waiting for all of them to come out, which I'm pretty sure that will be it after this pack comes out. But in general, Ghostricks just try to flip themselves up to really annoy your opponent and lock them down and do a bunch of annoying things. Some of these cards are really interesting. So Ghostrick Frost can special summon himself when you're going to be direct attacked, and then change the monster that's direct attacking to face down defense position. Really annoying. This can actually be used in a lot of different decks because you can just use this to send a monster face down that has an effect that really annoys you. But in a Ghostrick deck in general, it'll be really cool. This will allow you to get them out very easily and annoy your opponent like crazy. Ghostrick Mary is another really weird one. So when you take damage, you can summon a Ghostrick. The thing about this card is it's kind of a searcher, so you can special summon whatever Ghostrick you want and be able to activate their effects very quickly. So definitely an interesting card to keep an eye on. And then we have Ghostrick Catgirl. So this one I think is really good, just because when it's out, whenever a level 4 or higher monster is normal special summon, it gets changed to face down defense. So really annoying for your opponent to have to deal with once you start loading the field with your Ghostricks. That's going to be very annoying. And then Ghostrick Skeleton. This one's an interesting one because its effect is that it banishes cards from the top of your opponent's deck. So if you can keep your opponent locked down for a bit, you can start banishing like a bunch of their cards, and depending on their deck type, they're going to be in a lot of trouble depending on what gets banished. Also not horrible attack. Obviously most of the Ghostricks are pretty weak. Then Ghostrick Mummy, again one with decent attack, 1500. Again for Ghostricks, that's decent. But really nice that this kind of adds to the swarming potential of Ghostricks, allowing you to get out their XYZs a lot more easily, which is really nice. And then some of the Bujin cards that have been added. Bujin Arasuda, I really like this guy because how he works is that when Bujins get banished, which is all the time with how you're doing their effects, you can special summon him. So you can start getting the XYZs out very quickly. Again, he has very nice defense, which is really interesting because he gets special summoned in defense position. And he also has another effect that when you do the Bujin kind of adding, he can also do a draw and discard, which is really good for how Bujins work. So a good card for setting up the XYZs and a good card in general. And the other Bujin kind of animals that they're adding in. Swallow, I'm still kind of on the fence about. So this one allows you to go for a second attack with your Bujins. Obviously, when you're setting up, very powerful effects with your powerful XYZs, that can be really good. So, in certain situations, it might be good. Still kind of thinking about it. Obviously, the bad thing is other monsters cannot attack. But when you're using Bujins and you're focusing on a really powerful XYZ monster, this can be very useful. So, it can be interesting. And then Bujingi Peacock. So this is really cool because this gives access, Bujins get access to another searcher, which is really cool, allowing them to get what they need and not rely on other cards. So can be very nice. And along with the other Bujins, it has a very nice attack on top of that. Boonton Fox. This is an interesting one. I'm not really sure if people are going to run this. Decent defender, and then you can keep yourself from taking damage. So the thing about this card is that it can kind of protect you from certain like OTKs and stuff like that, but I think Bujins might want to be more aggressive, so not really sure if people are going to run this. Bujingi Hare I think is really good. I really think people are going to start running this, protecting your monsters from being destroyed and by card effects. You can run this card instead of Forbidden Lance. Obviously Forbidden Lance can be useful for other things, but still very nice card. I definitely am looking forward to seeing this one. So now the Gravekeeper support that was added, I'm really interested in most of the Gravekeepers that were added because I do have a Gravekeeper deck but needs to be updated. Gravekeepers Nobleman is really interesting. So you try to get this destroyed by your opponent, and then you can special summon a Gravekeeper in face down defense position, which is really good. Obviously, a lot of the Gravekeepers have very strong flip effects and very nice defense, so this could be a very useful card for searching and special summoning. Gravekeeper's Ambusher, I'm kind of on the fence about. Decent attack, but it seems like you're going to want to keep it in defense position to use its flip effect. It has two flip effects when it goes to the graveyard or when it just gets flipped. That you can get Necro Valley back from the graveyard, and you can kind of mess with your opponent's graveyard. Still kind of debating it. Good for recycling Necro Valley though, so an interesting choice. And then we have a Gravekeeper Shaman. So this card at first glance didn't really look too good to me, but when you really see what it can do, it can be really interesting. 1500 attack for a single tribute. Obviously that's pretty bad, but it gains 200 defense for the Gravekeepers in the graveyard. So usually you'll keep it in defense position to use its effects that I'm going to get into. But once you start loading your graveyard, that problem isn't so big, because with Necro Valley and the Gravekeepers, it'll have more like 2500 or a bit higher defense. The big thing about this card is that, so on top of Necro Valley, what can be annoying is cards that kind of activate from the graveyard, and this will like lock down that part of it, so your opponent won't be able to activate those effects. On top of it, they won't be able to destroy Necro Valley, which is really crazy when you think about it. Some decks are going to be in huge trouble when you get this out and Necro Valley, and your opponent also cannot activate field cards. So if you kind of set this up in the right way, this could be really interesting. And with these higher tribute Gravekeepers, you got to think about also Nobleman. So interesting stuff you can start to think of. Gravekeeper's Oracle. So now Gravekeepers are getting a boss. This one's really crazy because you can kind of choose how you want to tribute this. You can tribute it with 3 monsters or a Gravekeeper's monster. So there's some interesting choices that you can make here. The big thing about this card is that if it's single tributed, it becomes a decent attack monster because it gets a bonus from, one of the Gravekeepers based on the level. So its attack isn't so bad when you look at it. It's also really crazy with all the levels it has, but the more interesting thing is that you can tribute kind of based on what your Gravekeeper situation is, and then you can start kind of going on the offense. I'm still debating this card just because of I'm debating it because it's not really kind of like Gravekeeper style to focus on like a boss like this and get rid of all their monsters. But the thing is, this will give Gravekeepers access to a really high attack monster on top of what they're already doing. And one of the other effects that's really interesting is it being able to destroy all set monsters. So you can do some really crazy stuff with this, but I'm still debating it. So some of the few more random cards that are going to be added. So Mysterious Seed Mitra. This is one of these cards that allows you to kind of change levels and synchro summon really nicely. The thing about this card is that Earth synchros have a lot of variety in them. Like, there's the Natras and stuff like that. So if you can alter levels along with a card like this and maybe use like instant fusion, things like that to bring out like certain Earth monsters, you can bring up a variety of synchros. So if you're running a deck that runs a lot of Earth synchros, this card could be really interesting. So definitely something to think about. Kalantosa. This is a really weird card. It's when it gets special summoned by a beast type monster, you can destroy one card. So interesting, another destruction effect you have access to, but other than that, it's not that great. I'm not really sure if people are going to run this. It really depends on your deck type. So Nigitama, finally like the last spirit monster to get released. This is run in most spirit decks. It's very powerful, using its effect to kind of normal summon additional spirit monsters. So you're going to see this run in a lot of spirit decks. So if you're thinking about the archetype, definitely keep an eye on this card when you're building one. And then we have Black Brockie. Just a pretty simple dinosaur card, 1800 attack, and when it's normal summon you could change a monster to face up defense position, which combos really well with some of the other dinosaur effects that you have access to. And the final card that I'm going to take a look at for this video is Chirubime. So this is kind of adding to the lockdown nature of plants. So when this card is up, people have to attack this. So you put this in defense position, 2800 defense, and your opponent is going to have trouble. So another thing with this is like the other lockdown cards, you can put 2 of this and then your opponent won't be able to attack. So that's really interesting. Also, if it gets to the graveyard, you can special summon a plant monster. So giving plants even more special summoning power on top of what they're already doing, on top of their new archetype that they're getting. So on top of Lone Fire Blossom, not being limited anymore. So definitely keep an eye on this card with some of the other plant combos that are going to be coming up. So again, definitely want to hear from you guys. I want to see what cards you guys are excited for. These are just my initial impressions. There's a lot of things I probably haven't thought of yet, but I'm still looking through the cards, thinking about what I'm going to do with my decks. In these, specific cards here, I'm very excited for plants, Ghostricks, Bujins, and Gravekeepers. Obviously, they really have a lot of interesting cards coming, and that really should change the way those decks are played. And definitely excited for Ghostricks because then now they're going to be kind of completed, with all the cards that they want to have access to. But if you want to check out more from me, you can subscribe, hit the like button. Definitely going to be releasing these videos for the next few days, going over the next few cards. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.